Evening guys, hi, hope everyone's keeping really well. Rob back for another video. So this is becoming, fast becoming a bit of a habit. Once a month, going to the Moseley record fair. So yeah, obviously a roundup of what I picked up. That was this Sunday just gone, because it's always the first Sunday of every month. Yeah, this particular one was quite poignant, in as much as that it was actually a dedication to a regular of the fair, who was also a very, very, very good and close friend of my brother's, Eileen Coyle. So she sadly passed away a few weeks ago, and quite suddenly. And although she had been quite poorly for some years, but it wasn't expected at all. And yeah, really kind of took the wind out of our sails. She was a real character in Moseley. Everyone in the village, a lot of people in the village knew her. She was very popular, quite opinionated, outspoken lady, but full of personality. Loved her music. Used to often see her at gigs, and used to chat with her on Facebook. We'd often sort of talk about stuff that I used to show on news feed, and we'd sort of chat on Messenger and so on. And she was lovely, and it's just a real it's a real sad loss, but the actual fair was dedicated to the memory of Eileen, and there was a memorial there, and also a collection for shelter, because she used to do a lot for the homeless. That was something that was very, very close to her heart. So yeah, just thought I'd mention that anyway. So R.I.P. Eileen. Yeah, so obviously a great another good fair. It's always it's always well attended, plenty of vendors, lots of variety, deals to be had. I'd say probably on this occasion I didn't pick up anything really sort of weird or out of the ordinary, no grails or anything like that, but certainly some really, really good titles, and in some cases some collection fillers, things that I'd heard, I was aware of, but just never got around to owning. So there always seems to be plenty of those. So okay, so I'm going to start off, and I'm going to kind of go through them in the order that I picked them up. So the first one was from a vendor, and I do apologize, I can't remember his name, because we did have a chat, and he said that he did watch, or certainly I don't know whether he watches my channel regularly, but he did watch my last update, and I even asked his name, and I'm just hopeless with names, so apologies. I did forget, but he gave me a flyer, and as I say, so this is just to obviously just promote the fair itself. So this is for the Moseley Fair. This is at the All Services Club on Church Road in Moseley. So if you're in the South Birmingham area, it's always the first Sunday of the month. Certainly this season, I think there's another one next month. I've got a feeling that it definitely goes on next year, but I know that it does stop for the summer. They have a few months off, summer break. So, but yeah, well worth a visit if you're in that area, or if you live locally but you haven't visited it. Would recommend it. So okay, so anyway, back to the records. So yeah, this was on this occasion, this was the only thing I picked up off his stand. But yeah, really, really pleased to get this. This is one I've been after for a while. I had heard it, but it's been been a little while. So really happy to pick this up. This is Spirit's second studio album, The Family That Plays Together. So really, really nice condition, tip-on jacket. It's not an original, but it's an early 70s repress in really, really nice shape. Not any spindle wear really at all, which is always a good sign. So yeah, picked it up for a good price. And yeah, this is certainly their first three albums are all absolutely just essential as far as I'm concerned. The debut, wonderful, you know, and then the third album, which is arguably their most commercial and the most successful album. I think it's probably the best, Dr. Sardonicus. A lot of people know that one. Maybe this one less so, it doesn't quite get shown quite so much. But I think this is definitely up there with those other two. I Got a Line on You, which I think was the single, the opener, the Randy California song. Absolutely fantastic, It Shall Be. And then all the Jay Ferguson songs pretty much off the first side are just fantastic. Poor Richard, Silky Sam, Drunkard, just the energy, the harmonies. You've got that kind of jazz, slightly jazz kind of infusion with the psychedelia and the sort of rock. Just really upbeat, wonderful, wonderful listen. Yeah, great album. Really pleased to pick that one up. Okay, and then moving on to the next stand, picked up an album by Hawkwind that yeah, I'm always kind of looking out for their 70s albums. It's by far and away their best era, the best period. I have most of them in one form or another. This is one that I didn't have, so I was pleased to pick this one up. So this is Astounding Sounds, Amazing Music. This one's from 1976. So yeah, this was this heralded the return of Robert Calvert to the band. Very much a kind of almost like a performance kind of artist. Was obviously very prominent during their early period, particularly the kind of Space Ritual tour. He had a lot to do with that, and the sort of you know, the putting together, the construction of that. Really imaginative, great lyricist. Really kind of gives the band a really interesting kind of a dark edge, I think. So this was the first of the sort of trilogy of albums that he did when he was back with them for his kind of second term. So obviously you got Corpse, Strangers and Charm after this, and then PXR5 in 79. I think personally this is the weakest out of the three of those albums, but it's still a really good listen. Reefer Madness, Steppenwolf, Lagoons, the Aubergine at 8 Rangoon, great titles. Yeah, that kind of sort of twisted humor of Robert Calvert is really kind of really interesting, and yeah, really pleased to add it to the collection finally. And it's a lovely original on that Mad Hatter Charisma label. I managed to get a couple of quid off it as well, so again, got it for a decent price and lovely condition, you know, VG++, I'd say, definitely. Okay, and then I went to a stand, had a look through. They've got a lot of 80s, 70s and 80s stuff, which I often have a look through, and there's not always anything really that I find there from this particular vendor. But this is one that I really enjoy, and the highlights off this just are fantastic. So yeah, this is Judy Cruz. Welcome to the Cruise. So this is her debut album from 1979. So yeah, very distinctive vocalist. The label there. Really like that cover with these kind of ghostly images of her there in the chair. Really, really kind of iconic. Yeah, and this is I've owned a couple of Judy Zook albums over the years, and I got rid of both of them. Neither of them really grabbed me. This is definitely the one to own if you're going to own a Judy Zook album. So just right off the bat, you've got Welcome to the Cruise, the title track, just fantastic energy, great harmonies. Excuse me. And then the third track, For You, is it's just fantastic. It's got that kind of slightly kind of Baroque feel with the kind of strings that come in towards the end, but then this kind of a cappella multi-track vocal of Judy's, and it's just gorgeous, absolutely just gorgeous, wonderful, sort of almost transcendent kind of listen. Second side's arguably not quite as interesting, probably a bit more upbeat, kind of regular pop of the time, I guess. But it ends with the classic single, Stay With Me Till Dawn, which is beautiful. Yeah, this was really cheap, so very happy to pick that one up. Okay, and then a guy had a stall with a lot of kind of fairly cheap bins, and then he sort of announced that he was I think there was he had 4 bins that were all kind of stuffed to the gills, and he said that that he was letting these records go 4 for a tenner, which is really cheap for some of the titles that were in there. So there was one in particular that I wanted, and then I was kind of, making sure that I could have enough to, as with the way with sometimes this, you're thinking, oh, well, I don't know whether I can make it up and make up for the deal. But I did, and yeah, fairly happy with what I picked up. So this is the one that I really wanted. This is Steve Hillage's 4th album, Green. So for some reason, these Steve Hillage albums are not hard to come by at all. They're very common. Excuse me. But the first 3, Fish Rising, L, Motivation Radio, you just see everywhere, really, in all the cheap bins, really cheap. This one is one that's kind of eluded me. I used to own this years ago, and it was kind of always my favorite because it's kind of it's quite similar to Motivation Radio, so it's got that kind of slightly poppy edge, but it's just got that wonderful blend, perfect blend for me, of his kind of fuzz guitar, the psychedelic kind of guitar, and the kind of electronics and stuff. And it's just got a lovely feel about the album. Great. See Nature, fantastic. Music of the Trees, the lovely ethereal UFO over Paris. Yeah, just great. There's not really a bad moment. So it came with a inner sleeve and lyric. All very green, as per the title. So the original virgin polylined inner, which I just cleaned and obviously re-sleeved. On that slightly later green virgin, I think was that the second release, I think, maybe. So yeah, this album came out in '78, I think. And yeah, for £2.50, I'm very happy with that. Okay, next one I saw was this, which I thought was an absolute bargain. Imagine John Lennon, 1971. Never owned this on vinyl. I've had it on CD for many years, but just one that I've never had on vinyl before. So I was very happy to pick it up. I'm sure it's a reissue, but I've never it's got a kind of custom sleeve. Imagine John Lennon Plastic Ono Band with Flux Fiddlers. I haven't looked up the matrix. I don't know which pressing it is. But I would suspect that it's probably a late 70s, early 80s one, but immaculate condition. You know, and I mean, look at it, I mean, it's just glossy. There's, you know, the albums looks mint. Just fantastic, really. So yeah, really like this album. I think this and the Plastic Ono Band are probably my two favourites. Crippled Inside, How Do You Sleep, Oh My Love, How, even Oh Yoko, the last track, which is kind of quite silly and quirky, I've got a soft spot for. So yeah, I mean, apart from the opening track, the title song, which is a fantastic song, but obviously quite overplayed. I've heard that quite a lot. But yeah, fantastic, great listen, really, really solid Lennon album. Okay, and the third one I picked up was this one. Never heard this before, so this is a bit of a blind buy. This is the Strawbs, and this is Hero and Heroine. So this is 1974. Sorry, somebody commented on my last video that I flip them over too quickly and I don't show the rear cover. So there you go. Yeah, if I ever do anything really annoying or frustrating in my videos, because as I say, I don't edit, I make these on the fly, please tell me. You're absolutely not going to offend me at all. I'm well aware of my shortcomings most of the time. So yeah, anyway, so yeah, this is 1974. So this one comes, this Grave New World, which is the one I got from 72. And then there's another one, I think, in between, I think when Hudson Ford left and went solo. So yeah, the principal songwriter is now Dave Cousins, of course. And yeah, I wasn't familiar with this. It's a Strawbs album I've not heard. They kind of lose their kind of folky feel as they go on and become kind of more progressive, which I'm perfectly happy with. It, you know, I like the songwriting. I think Dave Cousins is a really good songwriter, and I quite enjoyed this on a first listen. Yeah, the Heroine's theme, Autumn as it comes in, is really nice. The title track, I think was it Out in the Cold, I think I really liked. Yeah, need to give it another couple of plays to really absorb it, but yeah, definitely enjoying what I heard. So it's on A&M. Not in mint condition, but pretty solid. Corners are a bit knocked up, but you know, for £2.50, I'm not going to complain. Okay, and then the last one, a friend of mine that I used to write songs with years ago was a huge Dylan fan, And as soon as I saw this always reminded me of him, because this was kind of one of his favourites from his 70s era. And I think it's a bit of a kind of lost classic. So this is Planet Waves from 1974. I'm pretty sure that's a Dylan Dylan artwork there. So yeah, this was chronologically, I think this came after Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, but before Blood on the Tracks, I think. So I know it was another collaboration with the band. So kind of Robbie Robertson, Rick Danko, Evan Helm and co. Yeah, and it's just, the musicianship's wonderful, and it's a really, really solid album. I'd heard it years ago and forgotten how good it was. There was one song that I remembered really, really well, which was kind of our favourite, which was the ballad Forever Young, which he reprises on his first song on side 2, but a much more upbeat version of it, I think with different lyrics. But yeah, I mean, on a night like this, Going, Going, Gone, what a great upbeat opener that is. Tough Mama. The last track, The Wedding Song, I really like as well. It's a really, really solid album. Do I prefer it to something like Desire? Probably not. But it's a really, really strong Dylan album from the mid-70s. So yeah, pleased to get that. So yeah, all in all, I was really, really happy with those for a tenner. I thought that was a really, really good deal. So very happy with that. Okay, moving round to the other side, I picked up this one, which is one I've been after for quite a while now. I think it's just the 4th album now from his first 4 albums that I'm missing. So this is Peter Gabriel's 2nd album, which is commonly, I think, referred to as Scratch, for obvious reasons. So monochrome cover there. Quite an arresting kind of image of Gabriel there. And this comes with the original lyric inner. This is in lovely, lovely condition, and for what I paid for this, I think it was about less than half of what I've seen it go for from other sellers. And this was kind of in better condition. So another one on the Charisma label. So yeah, I know the first and the third album really, really well. The first album is one of my top 20 albums ever. I think that's just fantastic. So I think from when I have streamed this a couple of times, I don't think it's as good as the first album, and probably not as good as the third one. But I seem to recall that it was still interesting, even though I can't actually recall any of the tracks. But for me, that's a good thing, because he's a really, really compelling artist. I mean, certainly when the early Genesis albums with Gabriel's input were kind of far more interesting for me than the Phil Collins era, probably apart from Trick of the Tail. But yeah, really, really looking forward to familiarizing myself with this, because he's a unique artist, has a really interesting style, sort of interesting pop, sort of quirky pop that he writes, with sort of progressive leanings. So that's Peter Gabriel's 2nd album from 1978. Okay, and then the last one was this one, which is an artist that I've got. I've got a couple of his albums already. Interesting artist. I think I'd seen this one advertised when it came out, but I didn't investigate it. But yeah, I sort of picked it up because it just looked really, really interesting. So it's Matt Berry, and this is his album Simplicity from 2023, so quite a recent one. And obviously Matt Berry, comic actor, musician, one of life's disgustingly talented people. Yeah, he's very, very a clever musician who's very good at sort of doing sort of his own skit, almost like pastiches of sort of various genres, obviously, that he's into. So I mean, he's done a folk album, he's done a psych album, I think called The Blue Elephant, which came out I think during the lockdown, I think 2021. But they're all interesting. You know, they're all very different. You know, I guess the title and the graphics sometimes gives you a little bit of a feel of what you're likely to expect. But yeah, I mean, certainly this play on the kind of the KPM Music Library series. And it is like that. I mean, so you've got themes here. So top brass, driving seat, rising bass, and then you've got the sort of the description of what the track is, what's on it, what it's kind of the mood it's trying to evoke. It's like these would have been used obviously for TV programs and films, you know, to use as soundtrack music and so on. I don't have any of the originals of these because usually when you find them, they're trashed and they're very expensive because they've just been played to death. But they have been reissued, and I was kind of a bit obsessed with them 2 or 3 years ago, and I bought probably about half a dozen of them. Some of the really early ones from the late 60s and early 70s are really interesting. So yeah, and it's kind of it's sort of what I expected, really. But I wasn't disappointed. So it's well played. It's interesting. It's kind of doing a skit on the sort of library music of that time, but it's got a sort of modern twist, which I like, which is good. So he's not just trying to exactly ape what's kind of, you know, what was done before, which is good. So yeah, talented guy, Matt Berry, and Simplicity. Okay, so that's it, guys. Yeah, I hope everyone's keeping really, really well. If you can hear bangs and stuff going on in the background, that's because I think we've had Diwali, and also obviously it's November the 5th, so everybody's letting off fireworks and so on. Yes, it's all going on out there. So yep, okay. Well, you look after yourselves, and yeah, I'll hopefully be back again soon with another video. Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye bye.